What are we drinking for this one?
Yeah, so this is kind of a middling total, right? It's not necessarily going to be a shootout. But what I like about this game is
it did surprise me a little
Yeah.
when I saw this on the list.
And I don't know that it's going to necessarily be all that high scoring, but I think the points are going to flow through fantasy relevant players you're actually going to have in your starting lineup. Goddard obviously going to miss this game. His absence is going to open up targets. I think it's important to consider what kind of targets. He's been targeted on 27% of his targets have come from screens. So those additional screens that are opening up could boost DeVonta Smith's value. He's seen screen targets at nearly 3 times the rate of A.J. Brown. So we could see things more condensed in the Eagles passing game. And on the Colts side, the big impact so far of Jeff Saturday has been to get his best players more involved. Jonathan Taylor had a 94% snap share last week, which is off the charts. The Eagles rank 31st in EPA allowed per rush. They can very much be run on. He has elite upside back with this coaching change. And Michael Pittman also saw a ton of usage last week. He saw a first read target on 33% of his routes. For any wide receiver to see a 33% target rate is elite, but the fact they're coming on Matt Ryan's first read shows they're calling plays intending to get Michael Pittman the ball. We also saw plenty of targets for Paris Campbell, less routes for Alec Pierce. This offense is condensing to its fantasy relevant players. A toast to Jeff Saturday.
Jay, let's look at the Colts receivers in this one. Matt Ryan's back.
Jeff Sunday, by the way, is his official name.
Undefeated. Only undefeated coach this season.
He, on a per-game basis, he's the highest winning percentage coach in NFL history. Just saying.
There's no argument.
Numbers
you are an athlete.
I don't always like to flex and show off, but Connor's here, Crane's here.
Yeah. It's a special day.
You're a new blood.
It's Flex Friday.
It's Flex Friday.
Yeah, we'll get there later too.
Yeah, I just want to flex not just these muscles, not just these guns, but right, the pythons up here.
Yes. The brain pythons.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh boy.
Exactly.
Oh boy.
Your turn to flex the brain pythons
hey,
here.
You know what, Jay Croucher?
Yes, Matthew Barry.
Welcome to the gun show.
Oh boy.
And it's right up here.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't like when you get that close.
That's why you strategically sit over there. Out in the middle, man.
Very smart. Yeah.
Michael Pittman, Paris Campbell.
That's right.
The pass catches.
Matty Ice back and ready to roll.
Colts have got a winning record when Matt Ryan's a quarterback.
Yeah.
And to Matthew's point, Jeff
Rushing
Saturday,
threat, Matt Ryan.
1,000% winning record. I think you're starting both of these guys, particularly Pittman. Obviously, he's one of the most talented wide receivers in the game. We have an ongoing thing where I keep on saying guys are one of the 15 best wide receivers in the game, and then I refuse to list out the other 14. But Michael Pittman is definitely on that list. And look, his targets with Matt Ryan, past 4 games Ryan has started, 8, 16, 9, 9. He gets a lot of the ball. Then Paris Campbell, even more impressive arguably, target count with Matt Ryan, past 3 games with Ryan at quarterback, 11, 12, 9. I don't know what happened to Paris Campbell, but he's discovered something good. Alec Pierce being phased out. I think you're starting both of these guys with relative confidence, and Pittman certainly with a lot of confidence.
Barry, on the Eagles side, it's just been a roller coaster season for fantasy for DeVonta Smith. You really never know what you're going to get. With a little bit of a boosted environment here, they have the Colts. Are we buying in a hot DeVonta Smith week?
Lukewarm, but
Okay.
but I'm more in than out. Like
Yeah.
having wide receiver 23, he's had at
Playable.
least 8. I think he's playable. He's had at least 8 targets in 2 of the last 3 games here. The Colts are really good against the run. It is a top 10 run defense over the last month, and so Miles Sanders, who has no passing game involvement, and the way they're going to move this ball is, I think, through the air. And to your point and to Pat's point, but the fact that, hey, I think it's a narrower target tree here. It's really going to be A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith with no Dallas Goedert. We'll see if anyone else emerges. They've got kind of this 3-headed monster at tight end. So we'll see if anyone else, and is there kind of, do we get some Quez Watkins looks, this week? But I do think DeVonta Smith is playable as a high-end wide receiver 3 this week. I'm nervous about Miles Sanders. If there's a positive here, there's a floor. 72% of the running back carries so far this year. He has had 5 rushing touchdowns in the last 6 games, but really bad game last week. No passing game usage. And again, as I said, over the last month, Colts' 7th best run defense in the NFL. He's always a risk to be vultured at the goal line by Jalen Hurts. He comes in at running back 20 for me. So low-end RB2, still startable, but not as optimistic as you might be in other weeks.
The fantasy poor matchup of the week, the Rams, the Super Bowl champion Rams, at the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are favored in this game by 3 points. The over-under at 39. Kareem, it feels like this is the bottom shelf area of the bar. This is the dollar beer section. What are we cooking up?
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with that area,
really
by the
is.
way, at the bar.
This is your rail liquor drinks here.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple for the Rams. Losing Cooper Kupp is really going to hurt this offense. Obviously, the offensive game plan on the Rams side was designed to go through Cooper Kupp, but defensive game plans were designed to take him away. He's been double-teamed on 30% of his routes this season. That's tied with Jamar Chase and Devonta Adams for the highest rate in the league. But the crucial thing was that Kupp was still succeeding despite that additional defensive attention. He had an elite 2.15 yards per route run when double-teamed. Without Kupp, you're going to see a ton more defensive attention to the other Rams receivers. I think that's going to more than cancel out the additional targets they might see. Saints are going to feel like they have an extra defender this week. And then on the Saints side, Andy Dalton's play has really dropped off over the last couple weeks. He ranks just 30th in EPA per play over that span. And that's been against middling pass defenses. The Steelers, the Ravens, they are not all that strong against the pass. Gets another middling Rams pass defense here, but the Rams are very strong against the run. So the Saints offense could be one-dimensional. We have that mixed with declining play from Dalton. That's mixed with a low-scoring offense on the other side. I do not recommend this cocktail.
Let me throw this to you. Sure. Super Bowl champion team. Do they have a fantasy relevant player in this game with Cooper Kupp sideline?
No. I mean, you see it there in your screen there. The highest ranked guy I have, I guess, would be Allen Robinson at wide receiver 31. I mean, I've got Higbee at tight end 12, Stafford at QB 19, but like Robinson's probably the quote-unquote most viable. I guess Higbee is a top 12 tight end just because it's so awful, but like the Saints have allowed one touchdown to a tight end this entire year. One. Like they're really good against tight ends. Only one tight end has over 40 yards against the Saints this year. So it's sort of shocking that the run game is a mess. We don't know how the Cooper Kupp targets are going to be distributed among all those guys. So it is. I mean, the Saints are the second best pass defense in the NFL over the last 4 weeks. Like, no, thank you. Like any of these guys you're starting, you're truly desperate. It's insane to think a Super Bowl champion team coached by Sean McVay doesn't have any fantasy relevant players on it, but they don't.
Oh, it's crazy. Jay, on the Saints side of things, and we're digging deep in this one, fellas. I mean, that's what we're down to right now. Juwan Johnson, he's been consistently scoring touchdowns. That's just about it. Jarvis Landry, is there anything here, or is it avoid at all costs?
There's not much. There's not much here. Yeah, it's a far cry from the NFC Championship 2018 days when these two teams were having high-scoring, blockbuster matchups, and Nickel Roby-Coleman was killing bodies. But look, I think that Jarvis Landry, there's some outside chance. Like he had 6 targets last week coming off the injury. Maybe he gets more of a workload. He did have a 7 for 114 game, but that was back in week 1 with a different quarterback. Yeah. So that's probably not coming back. Juwan Johnson, yes, I think he's viable as, again, in the Irv Smith mold of a guy who's going to be 3 for 35 and probably has a better chance of a touchdown than Dawson Knox just based on his touchdown equity lately, but you're not feeling good about anyone.
All right.
No. You're starting Olave and Kamara.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, pretty simple.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just. You don't need to. You
Minus 5,000. Oh man.
You don't need to.
Off the board.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So the Browns.
Yeah.
Speaking of quads, Nick Chubb also, the quad grandson.
Yep.
But we don't really care about Nick
Yeah,
Chubb because he's pretty fantasy relevant.
Yeah, exactly.
We care
You're
more
starting
about
him. He's running back 7.
Yeah, that much is obvious. Kareem Hunt, though. Well, I mean, what do you do with Kareem Hunt at this point where he's been a pretty reliable flex for a while, but lately, especially this season as a whole, it has just not gone his way.
Yeah, I'm not starting Kareem Hunt. I mean, like honestly, exactly. I mean, again, the argument for Kareem Hunt is that they're going to be down and throwing, and maybe he's the passing down back, but that just hasn't been the case even when they've been down. Like it's just been all Nick Chubb. Like he has not been. He's not been a good fantasy running back for quite some time here, right? I mean, in games in which he gets less than 14 touches, and by the way, 14 touches is a lot, right? When he gets less than 14 touches, he's averaging under 6 fantasy points per game. I don't see him getting 14 touches in this game unless something were to happen to Nick Chubb. So, yeah, I mean, no thank you on Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt, I have at running back 32. So, I mean, I guess if you're truly desperate, but no thank you on Kareem Hunt. I think the more interesting conversation, Connor, if I may, is Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, we talked about him yesterday. We talked about him throughout the week, how down we are on him because his road splits for his career are poor. and especially this season where he's averaging, again, under 6 fantasy points per game. You see it there on your screen. When he's at home, 21 fantasy points per game. When he's on the road this year, just 5.8, 33 receiving yards per game. He has yet to score a touchdown on the road. So the question now becomes like, well, he's not on the road.
It's a neutral site.
It's a neutral site.
What do we do?
But he's away from Cleveland.
I reckon he goes off. I reckon he has a monster game. The neutral designation
Yes.
has changed everything. There's going to be a switch in his head. All of a sudden, Justin Jefferson, who are you? It's a
Yeah,
matter of time.
I think you're starting him. So he's my wide receiver 21. I think you're lowering him a little bit because he's away from Cleveland. So it is a, quote, road game for him specifically. But the fact